What happens after synchronicity? This question is more than curiosity. It is a door. So many times you have noticed it. The perfect alignment of numbers on a clock, the chance encounter that seems too precise to be chance, the song that arrives exactly when your heart needed. And in that moment, for a brief instant, you felt seen. You felt the universe whispering to you, you are not alone. Yet as soon as the sign fades, something else often arrives. Confusion, impatience, doubt. You wonder, what now? Was that all? Or was it pointing me towards something greater? I want you to pause here and notice within yourself how many times you've received these subtle messages only to return to the same cycle of waiting, hoping, and wondering. The synchronicity lifted you for a moment, but then life seemed to close back in around you. This is not because you're broke or because the universe has forgotten you. It is because synchronicity is never meant to be the destination. It is the knock at the door, not the room you are meant to enter. Perhaps you have felt the loneliness of this sight. You keep asking for confirmation, for signs that life is listening. You look at the repeating numbers. You remember the dreams that align with your waking moments. And still there is a silent ache inside, an ache that whispers, why do I see the signs but not the chain? If this has been your experience, let me say this with compassion. I see you. I know what it is to feel that emptiness, to doubt if the guidance is real or just your imagination. You are not alone in this pain, and there is nothing wrong with you for feeling it. Synchronicity is real. It is sacred, but it is not proof that everything will unfold for you without choice, without participation. A sign is an invitation to shift. It comes not to reassure you that your life is fixed, but to awaken you to a possibility waiting for your action. Most people treat synchronicities as treasures to collect, as if the mere sight of them were the gift itself. But the truth is deep. Each sign is a mirror, reflecting a hidden belief, a hidden state of being, and calling you to step into a new level of yourself. This is where the journey truly begins. After the synchronicity, after the moment of wonder, when the numbers fade from the clock and the coincidence becomes a memory, what remains is the invitation. The universe has knocked on your door. The question is, will you open it? The next step is not about chasing another sign. It is about listening not just with your eyes for symbols in the world, but with your heart for the shift being asked of. And as we walk together through this message, we will explore why synchronicity appears, what it reveals about your subconscious patterns, and how to respond so that your life doesn't just fill with signs, but with transformation. Because the sign is not the miracle is what you choose to do after it. The invisible error, treating synchronicity as the destination. There is a quiet illusion that many seekers fall into. It is the belief that the sign itself is the answer, that when the numbers align, when the coincidence appears, when the dream speaks, the journey has reached its fulfillment. But in truth, the sign is not the arrival, it is the threshold. When synchronicity is treated as the destination, it loses its power to transform. It becomes a collection of moments admired but never lived into, as if one were gathering seashells without ever stepping into the ocean they came from. The human mind, shaped largely by patterns hidden below consciousness, is drawn to these repetitions. As Dr. Bruce Lipton explains, more than 90% of our daily behavior arises from subconscious programs. These programs, imprinted from childhood, repeat themselves until something interrupts the cycle. Synchronicity is one such interruption. It reflects the script you have been living unconsciously, asking if you are ready to choose different when you see the same number sequence or meet the same kind of person again and again. It is not simply coincidence. It is the subconscious made visible. Until awareness meets it, the pattern continues, and yet there is a subtle trap here. Instead of turning inward, many begin to turn synchronicity into a performance. They speak of their signs not as turning points for the soul, but as badges to be shown, seeking validation from others or even from themselves. The sacred becomes another way to be seen, admired, or reassured. In this way, signs lose their essence, and what was meant to guide the heart inward becomes a spectacle directed out. True reprogramming does not come from collecting signs, but from allowing them to shift the inner landscape. Think for a moment of the last synchronicity that moved you. Perhaps it was a word spoken by a stranger, perhaps a symbol appearing at just the right time. Instead of asking, what does this promise me? Consider asking, what belief of mine is this reflecting back to me? The sign is not there to decorate your journey. It is there to reveal your state of being. It is a mirror, a gentle yet precise echo of your vibration, showing you what is active within you. When synchronicity is mistaken as the end, the soul remains in a waiting room, always expecting another sign, another confirmation, another reason to believe. But when it is seen as a doorway, the waiting ends. begins. Life begins to shift, not because the universe has decided to reward, but because you have decided to step into the self that the sign was pointing toward. The invisible error is not seeing the sign, it is stopping it. To move beyond, one must recognize the synchronicity as an invitation to awareness, an invitation to embodiment, an invitation to live no longer by the old program, but by the new consciousness that has just appeared at your door. The silent factor that sabotages your frequency, unconscious control. When synchronicity arrives, the heart often fills with excitement. A sudden wave of meaning rushes in, and for a moment, everything feels alive, connected, and purposeful. Yet almost immediately after this glimpse, another force awakens, the urge to control. The mind, impatient and restless, wants to know how soon the promise will unfold. It clings to timing, to certainty, to guarantees. Instead of resting in trust, it begins to grasp. And in this grasping, the very frequency that allowed synchronicity to appear begins to collapse. This is one of the most subtle sabotages of spiritual growth. The sign came through coherence, through a moment when your energy aligned with the possibility. But when control rushes in, coherence breaks apart. It is like trying to force a river to flow faster by pulling at the water with your hands. The flow only becomes more turbulent. The truth is, the more urgently you demand, the more your nervous system contracts, sending signals of fear instead of faith. Neuroscience reveals part of this mystery. When we receive a synchronicity, the brain releases dopamine, the chemical of reward. In its wisdom, the body interprets this as a confirmation that something valuable has arrived. But dopamine has a shadow. It creates craving. It convinces the mind that the reward should not only continue, but arrive instantly. Instead of patience, there is impatience. Instead of trust, there is tension. The same mechanism that allows you to feel joy at the sign can also make you restless when the fruit does not immediately follow. This tension is not abstract. It is felt in the body. The chest tightens, the breath shortens, the mind runs ahead. It is as if the soul's soil has been planted with a seed, but instead of watering it with steady presence, we begin to pull on the sprout to force it to grow. The seed, once full of potential, becomes fragile under this pressure, and what could have blossomed into a harvest withers under the weight of urgency. There is another. The body itself holds the key to restoring coherence when impatience rises. By bringing awareness to breath, one can shift from grasping to trust. A simple rhythm of inhale 4 counts, holding for 4, and exhaling for 6 allows the nervous system to return to balance. In this slower current of breath, the mind softens and the heart remembers what the sign was truly asking for, not control, but surrender. The silence after synchronicity is not meant to be filled with urgency. It is meant to be honored with presence. To remain in alignment is to let the seed rest in its soil, trusting that unseen roots are forming even before any growth appears above the surface. Control collapses coherence. Trust strengthens it. The choice between the two is often made in the very moment after the sign, when the mind whispers, "When will it happen?" And the heart answers, "It has already happened." Why most people fail. After the sign, confusing probability with possibility. Synchronicity often arrives wrapped in wonder. It feels like a door open, a secret passage revealed, a glimpse into a reality larger than the one you thought you inhabited. Yet many who receive these signs are left disheartened when life does not immediately transform. The reason is subtle but powerful. The confusion between possibility and probability. A synchronicity is not a guarantee. It is a window. It reveals what is possible, not what is certain. The mistake lies in treating the sign as a promise instead of an invitation. To see repeating numbers, to encounter the right word at the right time, to meet someone who shifts your perspective. These are possibilities revealed. They are glimpses of what could be if alignment is sustained, but they are not inevitabilities. When treated as promises, disappointment follows, and the heart sinks back into doubt. Science mirrors this truth. As Bruce Lipton teaches through epigenetics, the body carries countless potentials in its very cells. Genes are not fixed scripts, but possibilities waiting to be activated. The environment, the inner and outer vibration, determines which expression comes alive. In the same way, synchronicity points to a range of potential realities. Which one manifests depends not on the sign itself, but on the state of being you choose to maintain after receiving. This realization can feel both sobering and liberating. Sobering because it reveals that synchronicity is not a cosmic guarantee. Liberating because it places the power back in your hand. The universe shows you a mirror of what could be, but it is your vibration, your choices, your consistency of heart that waters that possibility into probability. Think of a window briefly opening in a darkened room. The light floods in, illuminating what lies beyond. The opening does not mean you are already outside. It means the path is visible, waiting for your step. To confuse possibility with probability is to mistake the view for the journey itself. The vision is precious, but it is only the beginning. The question then becomes, how do you walk toward what the sign reveals? The answer is often far simpler than the mind expects. It lies in action, in small alignments that harmonize with the state the synchronicity pointed to. When the sign reflects love, step into an act of love. When it reflects abundance, embody generosity. When it reflects healing, choose one behavior that honors your well-being. Each action, however small, is a seed strengthening the probability of the reality that was shown to you. The beauty of synchronicity is not only that it opens the door, but that it reminds you have the key. The sign is the spark, the embodiment is the fire, and without the fire, the spark fades into memory, the subtle signs of an approaching quantum shift. After synchronicity, there is often an expectation that life will immediately become smoother, lighter, and filled with clarity. Yet many are surprised to find the opposite. Old patterns rise up, doubts intensify, resistance appears in subtle and unexpected ways. What felt like a doorway to peace suddenly feels like a confrontation with everything you thought you had already released. This turbulence is not a sign of failure. It is the sign of transformation at work. The subconscious does not yield easily. When a new possibility enters your field, the old programs stir. As Bruce Lipton explains, the body reacts when beliefs are challenged. Cells begin to release stress chemistry, as if clinging to the familiar. Just as the body trembles when it breaks free from an addiction, the mind trembles when it steps away from ingrained patterns. The discomfort is not punishment. It is the residue of transition. To recognize this can shift everything. Many lose hope when confusion or discomfort follows synchronicity, thinking they have missed their chance or lost their alignment. But this very turbulence is evidence that a new program is formed. Resistance is not proof that the door has closed. It is proof that you are walking through it. The storm does not erase the dawn, it precedes it. Think of the way the body heals. Before complete recovery, there is often weakness, fever, exhaustion. The system detoxes the old before stabilizing in the new. In the same way, spiritual evolution often feels heavier before it feels lighter. The synchronicity planted the seed, but the soil must shift, break open, and recompose itself to let new roots take hold. What feels like chaos is, in truth, creation. This is why synchronicity is sometimes followed by silence or even doubt. The universe is not withdrawing, it is giving you space to enter. Confusion, tension, and even emotional fatigue can be the marks of deeper alignment settling in. To misinterpret them as failure is to abandon the process just as it begins to take root. The subtle signs of an approaching quantum shift are not always bright. They are often shadowed by uncertainty, but within that uncertainty lies the evidence of movement. The old self resists because it senses its time is ending. The discomfort you feel is not a closing, it is a threshold. And when you recognize it as such, you can allow the turbulence to pass through you without fear, knowing that on the other side is a reality that matches the synchronicity you were shown. Practical exercise, turning synchronicity into embodied change. A synchronicity is not meant to stay as a passing memory. It is a seed that longs to take root in your being, and for it to do so, it must move from the realm of thought into the realm of embodied. Too often, signs are admired but left untouched, as if their meaning were complete in the moment they appear. But the true transformation begins when you invite the sign into your daily life, allowing it to shape the way you see yourself, the way you feel, and the way you act. One of the most powerful ways to begin this integration is by turning the synchronicity into a mirror. Write down the last one that touched you. It may have been a number, a meeting, a dream, or a phrase that pierced through your day. Then ask yourself, if this sign is a reflection, what image of myself is life asking me to step into? The synchronicity is never random. It is the echo of an inner state, calling you toward a higher version of your own identity. To witness it without embodying is to stop halfway through the journey. Science affirms what spirituality has always known. Repetition intention and emotion carve the pathways of the subconscious. Bruce Lipton reminds us that lasting reprogramming happens when thought is infused with feeling, when new beliefs are repeated until they become natural. This means that when a synchronicity appears, it is not enough to think about it once. It must be rehearsed in the heart, felt in the body, and remembered until it becomes part of who you are. Here is where imagination becomes sacred. Before sleep, when the mind is quiet and open, bring to life one scene that would feel natural if the synchronicity had already blossomed. Not a scene of striving or longing, but of simple, lived reality. If the sign reflected love, imagine yourself in the ease of that love. If it reflected abundance, see yourself already moving with generosity and trust. The scene does not need grandeur, it needs truth, the feeling of being at home in that new version of yourself. This gentle practice shifts the energy from waiting to becoming. Instead of sitting by the soil, watching for sprouts, you begin to embody the harvest within. The outer world may not change in an instant, but the inner world begins to align, and sooner or later, the outer must follow. Neville Goddard called this living in the end, where the future is no longer a hope, but a state assumed in the present moment. Synchronicity comes to awaken, but embodiment ensures it endures. The sign was the call, the practice is the answer. And when the two meet, when the outer message is joined with inner transformation, the shift becomes not only possible, but inevitable. Crossing the threshold after the sign, the purpose of synchronicity is not to decorate your path with wonders. It is to awaken you to a deeper choice. Every sign, every alignment, every whispered echo from the universe is a reminder that life is listening, but also asking. It is asking you to respond not with fascination alone, but with embodiment. The journey does not end with the sign, it begins there. Bruce Lipton reminds us that belief is the soil of transformation. Without reprogramming the subconscious, without tending to the hidden roots of thought and feeling, no seed can truly grow. Synchronicity is that seed, small yet filled with infinite potential, but only embodied action, only the decision to live in harmony with the new state of being allows it to bloom into harvest. Signs without embodiment remain as echo. Embodiment turns them into song. Neville Goddard spoke of this with clarity. To stay at the level of wonder is to linger outside the gate. The sign is the echo, he said, but embodiment is the voice. Synchronicity calls you, but assumption, living as if it were already true, is the answer that carries you across the threshold. This is the fine line that separates those who admire signs from those who are transformed by. Think of it like this. Synchronicity is the knock at your door. The shift is what happens when you open it and walk into a new identity. To notice the knock is sacred. To open the door is courageous, but to step through and remain in the room of your new self, that is the true crossing. It is there that possibility becomes reality, not because the universe imposed it, but because you aligned with it. Let this message settle deeply within you. Synchronicity is not life rewarding. It is life inviting. It is not a gift already delivered, but an awake asking to be received. And if you have wondered why the signs appear yet change feels slow, remember this truth. The sign is the beginning, not the completion. The harvest is waiting for your embodiment. Take this moment to breathe with presence. Feel the invitation alive within you, as if the universe itself were leaning close and whispering, step into who you are becoming. Let the words rise softly within. I am ready. I am alive. I walk into the self I am becoming. The signs are here. The door has already knocked. The choice now is not whether life is listening, but whether you will answer.